I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll call this regular meeting of the Board of Education to order. Mr. White, will you please call the roll?
Allison Greeny.
Here.
Vera.
Here.
Oheimer.
Here.
Howard.
Here.
Huey.
Here.
Wrigley.
Here.
Hill.
Here. All members of the board are here, and we do have a quorum. Moving on, we'll go to approval of the minutes of the Student Achievement Committee meeting of February 18th, the Policy Committee meeting of April 25th, the regular board meeting of April 25th, the closed session of the regular board meeting of April 25th. Looking for a motion to approve those minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Wrigley, second by Mrs. Hoheimer. Any questions or concerns with the minutes? All right, hearing none. Mr. White, will you please call the roll?
Wrigley.
Aye.
Oheimer.
Aye.
Allison Greeny.
Aye.
Vera.
Aye.
Howard.
Aye.
Huey.
Aye.
Hill.
Aye. The motion carries, and the minutes are approved. Next order of business will be communication, public comments, and participation, and we'll start with board applause. Mr. Howard, how about we start with you tonight?
I knew you were going to do that.
You want me to start at the other end?
That's fine.
All right.
I'm getting the names off of here. And this whole story. I'd like to direct my board applause to two young men on the Pekin track team who are going to state this coming weekend, if I understood the email correctly. One young man is named Julian Hill, and the other is named Jacob Donath. Didn't say what their events were, so I went to the Peoria Area Honor Roll because I was really curious, because Mr. Hugh and I both have that in our background. And I found that Julian Hill is the top seed in the 200, the long jump, and the triple jump. And he's also a high seed in the 100 and the 400. Man, that's a lot of work. And then the other young man, Jacob Donath, he's the #1 seed in the high jump. But he had an off day at the, is it sectional they just did?
Correct.
I can't keep all those straight. He, in the paper even, he said he had an off day and he didn't reach his personal best, but if he reaches his personal best, I think he has a good shot down at state. But anyway, I want to commend both those young men. It takes a lot of hard work and effort to do what they're doing, and they don't usually get a lot of acclaim.
Thank you, Mr. Howard. Mr. Huey?
Well, I can't begin to list all the names of the people that I want to commend today, referring to the list in the graduation program yesterday of the students who received awards, scholarships, other recognition of note. And I was just utterly amazed at the size of the list and the number of students who were so well accomplished. So my praise goes out to them.
Thank you, Mr. Huey. Ms. Hoheimer?
Mine goes out to the administration who absolutely went off without a hitch yesterday. It was great. Everybody did a great job. It was a beautiful day, not a cloud in the sky. A little warm, but I'll take that over rain any day.
Absolutely.
Beautiful day.
It was a great ceremony. Thank you. Continuing on around to Mr. Wrigley.
I will echo the graduation board applause, but I would like to extend a particular shout out to our safety staff, particularly Jim Walsh and the people who responded to the person who needed some assistance in the stands yesterday. There was somebody who was suffering, I would assume, from heat-related illness, and they were right there on scene, faster even than advanced medical transport was. So shout out to him and to that team as well.
Thank you, Mr. Wrigley. Mr. Allison Greeny.
Congratulations to the sophomore baseball team that won the Mid-Illini Conference Championship.
Thank you. Mr. Vera?
Back on May 10th, I had the honor of attending the awarding of 2 ROTC scholarships to 2 Pekin High cadets, Kelsey Taylor and Tori Lodge, both recognized with full college ROTC scholarships. very proud of those two young ladies.
Absolutely, it's a great accomplishment. My board applause I would like to direct to the Thursday night awards ceremony. As Mr. Huey mentioned, there were some very great awards and achievements that were that were given out on that night. It was great to hear the department chairs all speak very highly of our department chair students of the year, and then also got to attend baccalaureate, which is always a nice celebration, and it was good to see some really great messaging coming from our students, and then also from some of the guest speakers that they had there as well. So congratulations to them. Moving on to our student council report. Amanda?
Hi there. Since the school year is coming to a close, so are all the committees. We just finished off senior send-off like 2 Fridays ago, and it went great. There was 270 kids. That's like the record high. It was so much fun, and all the seniors loved it. And since we're done with that, we're gonna work on summer meetings this summer for Blackout, and we're going to be working on the sponsors, and we're figuring all the meeting dates out tomorrow, and that's just exec work.
Great. Thank you very much. Enjoy the last few days of your school year.
Thanks.
Moving on to the next order of business will be the approval of the monthly claims.
Mr. President, I move for the payment in monthly warrants in the amount of $2,052,997.05. Per summary information found on page 60. Detailed information begins with board bills on page 89 and manual checks on page 114.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Alessandrini, second by Mr. Wrigley. Any questions? Mr. White, will you call the roll?
Alessandrini.
Aye.
Wrigley.
Aye.
Rivera.
Aye.
Holheimer.
Aye.
Howard.
Aye.
Huey.
Aye.
Hill.
Aye. Motion carries. Monthly warrants are approved. Next item of business will be in new business, and that is a request to go in closed session regarding the employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of a specific employee of the public body or legal counsel for the public body, including hearing testimony on a complaint lodged against an employee of the public body or against legal counsel for the public body to determine its validity, the purchase or lease of real property for the use of the public body, including meetings held for the purpose of discussing whether a particular parcel should be acquired, the setting of a price of sale or lease of property owned by the public body, and litigation when an action against, affecting, or on behalf of the particular public body has been filed and is pending before a court or administrative tribunal, or when the public body finds that an action is probable or imminent, in which case the basis for the findings shall be recorded and entered into the minutes of the closed meeting. Do I have a motion?
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Hoheimer, second by Mr. Huey. Any questions or concerns? Mr. White, will you call the roll?
Holheimer.
Aye.
Huey.
Aye.
Alessandrini.
Aye.
Rivera.
Aye.
Howard.
Aye.
Wrigley.
Aye.
Hill.
Aye. Motion carries, and we are in closed session. Board is back in session at 7:08 p.m. Next on the agenda item is the consent agenda. This will be recommended board approval for employment of certified staff Aaron Seeley, Amy Mefford, Joshua Zink, support staff Chase Murphy, differentials Mark Grizzard, Shayla Hancock, and Scott Pyle. Make a matter of notice of the retirement for David Larash, and a donation from General Motors Corporation. I'll be looking for a motion to approve those items.
So moved based on the premise that nobody wants to vote on the separate item.
Motion by Howard. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Alessandrini. Mr. White, will you call the roll?
Howard.
Aye.
Alessandrini.
Aye.
Rivera.
Aye.
Holheimer.
Aye.
Huey.
Aye.
Wrigley.
Aye.
Hill.
Aye. Motion carries. Consent agenda is approved. Next, we'll move on to policies for our first reading. Mr. Wrigley.
Policy Committee is presenting 8 policies for a first reading. Please note that the 2 additional policies listed on a separate page number are not included because suggested press changes considered during the review were confined to footnotes and/or legal cross-references. and the policy text was left unaltered. In addition, 5 new exhibits were reviewed, and all were not included for a first reading in this agenda to allow further consideration for these documents by board council and by the administrative team. Those policies are 6130, 6300, 7150, 7190, 7200, 7210, 7220, 7240. The recommendation is for board approval to lay over all of these policies and 7240 as presented for action at a further date.
This recommendation comes from committee. It does not need a second. Any board members have any questions? Mr. White, will you call the roll?
Ridley,
Aye.
Allison Green.
Aye.
Rivera,
Aye.
Oppenheimer,
Aye.
Howard,
Aye.
Huey,
Aye.
Hill.
Aye. Motion carried. Policies are laid over. Item 5.4, resolution for sale of the building trades house, unfortunately will have to be struck from the agenda because we did not receive any bids. So that being said, 5.5 will be a resolution for listing the buildings and trades house 1836 Whitetail Lane in Pekin. Be looking for a motion at this time.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Barra, second by Mr. Wrigley, and that is to authorize the superintendent to engage the services of a licensed real estate broker to effectuate the sale of the building trades house at 1836. I apologize. Are you okay with that motion, Mr. Barra?
Yes.
Mr. Wrigley?
I am.
Do any board members have any questions on that? Mr. White, will you call the roll?
Rivera,
Aye.
Ridley,
Aye.
Allison Green.
Aye.
Oppenheimer,
Aye.
Howard,
Aye.
Huey,
Aye.
Hill.
Aye. Motion carries, and we will list the house with our real estate agent. Next order of business is the 2016-2017 Student Parent Handbook changes. Dr. Owens.
So, this is a big one this year. Starting on page 197, you have all of the topics, changes, the rationale behind the changes, and what our recommended changes are. Typically, it has been for us to give you not only this list, but also a draft of the student handbook at the same time. Right now, we have this list, and we struggled to get the list. There's been a lot of changes with Senate Bill 100 and things that are coming down the pipe. So right now, what we have are these recommended changes. If you approve them, we obviously will include them in the draft. I'll make sure you get a copy of the draft, but we'd still like to move forward with these so that we can get our student handbook ordered so that it's delivered in time for school to start. You can see, excuse me, through the numerous pages, there's quite a few changes. Some of them are grammatic changes, some of them are cleanup. We find things every year, just like we do as we go through board policy, same thing. Obviously, the big ones to call attention to, I would say probably are due to Senate Bill 100. So if you look on page 198 or page 2, anything that has to do with a potential suspension or expulsion from school, language is going to need to be changed to match what we're expected to do with Senate Bill 100. So what you will see a lot in our handbook is first offense may include up to 10 days OSS, may include up to an expulsion recommendation. Anytime there's multiple days of suspension, there will also be an expectation that there's a re-engagement, a mandatory re-engagement plan, which means when they walk back in the building, there's a process they have to go through and meet with. Right now, I think our thought is dean and or counselor or special ed staff before they go back to class. So those match what the expectation for Senate Bill 100 is. The other things that we've changed up to this point to match are, I'm trying to find it, things like number 27, number 28 on page 199, 200, how we handle student skipping, how we handle tardies. We've started to elongate what those possible consequences are to avoid issuing OSS as quickly as we do. Honestly, don't think we do it quickly now, but the state would probably argue differently with me. So some of the things that you'll see are changes from 1 detention, or we used to start with 2 detentions, backing it off to 1 detention, moving into 2 detentions, 3 detentions, talking about Saturday school, Saturday detention. One of the other things we're also going to try, if they don't, one of our biggest offenses that results in OSS is students who skip Saturday school, which means probably they've skipped other consequences they were given to, right? They were given a detention, they didn't serve it, turned into a Saturday detention, didn't serve that, on and on it goes. So that has resulted in the past for 2 days out of school suspension. And when we're trying to keep our suspension numbers a little bit more in check, that really plays against us. So one of the things we are going to try next year is a combination of some things. If they don't serve Saturday school, not letting them out of that, but also in addition that depending on who the student is, they also give up other potential things like dances, or the ability to go to extracurricular activities or participate in extracurricular activities, lunch detentions, things that we feel like may have an impact. In addition, and then they have to keep doing those until Saturday school is served. So that's not going to work for everybody, but it's another step that we can try to implement. So we've been trying to think outside the box as to how we can better handle some of these things. Again, while we continue to pursue, is in-school suspension something we're ready to jump on board with? And what would that look like here? Obviously, we need some time to decide that, but in the meantime, we're going to try to do some different things. The other thing that we will have a section which is listed on page 201 called gross misconduct. We're going to define what gross misconduct is and explain that once you get to the level where it's considered gross misconduct, here may be some potential pieces of consequence that you may receive. Up to 10 days suspension, potential re-engagement, multiple Saturday schools, or any combination thereof of other consequences, as well as the ability for us to say to you, you need to go to a behavioral intervention, or maybe you need a grief group, or maybe you need whatever other interventions we feel may be appropriate for you at the time, will be something that we can also expect them to do. One of the other things, a couple other major things, if you remember, we had an issue earlier in this year which caused us to look at how we handle searches. So you'll see our handbook language has changed with that, as well as I will be, once we meet for policy, bringing back our policy for searches so that it's updated along with, based on recommendations from our attorney, so that those two complement each other. We also will expect students, every student who parks on campus next year, to have a permit, which they will have to sign off for. We're not going to charge them for it. We'll charge them if they lose it and they have to get a replacement, they'll be charged. But otherwise, they do have to have one hanging in their car. Staff will have one as well, different color. But that way, it's a little bit more identifiable. It helps us. Then that we have a sign off on that they understand their car can be searched with reasonable, expectation for that search to occur if we need, feel like there's a need. And all of that language will coincide with our policy changes. Dress code's always something that we look at every year, because every year it's something different, right? Just when we think we get the whole world figured out. So we continue. It goes on for a page and a half.
You get leggings.
Yeah, we do have leggings. Leggings is a war that we have fought, and I think we've officially lost. But we have fought the tops that need to be just as long as we expect skirts to be, and unfortunately, it's hard to find pants that aren't leggings or jeggings that aren't necessarily just a legging with a pocket, which is not necessarily a jean. We're really not in that business, but we do
They're
expect
not
tops.
pants, ladies, they're not pants.
Yeah. We do expect tops to cover their torso. That's still in there. We had quite a long conversation as to how to word that, and asked for students' input on that. But hopefully we'll have a little bit less of a fight. Some of the clothing that's in here is not anything different than what we've had before, but we thought we'd put the whole thing in so that you can see what the expectation is.
Before you go off that,
Yes.
page 204, the last sentence on that same sentence, it says, "and may face disciplinary consequences." Can we use disciplinary there, or do we have to use behavioral interventions?
No, we can use disciplinary.
Okay,
Yeah.
just wanted to make sure.
I know it's not the warm fuzzy phrase, but
Okay.
we're gonna leave it.
Spitting.
Is that stirring the pot? Is that what that is?
Just wanted to make sure we could do it. It's the only place I see disciplinary.
Yeah. A lot of the other changes, like I said, are grammatical or bringing things in line and being consistent. So that would be our recommendations for some changes, quite a few of them. But like I said, a lot of them on paper, great changes, I think. We'll see how the implementation of all these changes, we'll keep you updated because it could be an interesting year next year, I'm sure. And every school is saying the exact same thing. So I would recommend board approval of the proposed 2016-17 student parent handbook changes as presented.
So move.
Motion by Mr. Howard, second by Mrs. Hoheimer. Any board members have any questions or comments?
Not that you want to hear.
I just, my only concern is that you're gonna have that particular student that says, you can't touch me. And then it's gonna somebody else is gonna hear that and say, you can't touch me, and then I know I live it. So I'm really worried about this whole thing. I'd like to get those two representatives to come down here and teach for a year under their rule.
I'm trying to love my legislator, but it's not working.
I think the reality is we've always had those students, right? We have them every year. And I think one of the things that, we continue to come back to is down deep, if it was truly wrong enough to be expelled from here. We have always taken expulsions very seriously in this district. We work very hard to limit the number of students we expel. But if we are at a level where we feel like that student is a threat to this building, then they need to be expelled. And we've had attorneys look at us and say, we'll defend you to the nth degree if that's what you feel, as long as you've taken the steps. So I don't think there's anything wrong, with re-examining what we're doing and why, and if there are more steps in the process. But we all know there are still going to be things that students will do that violate the fact that they need extra steps. And so we'll have to cross those bridges when we come to it, I think.
Thank you very much. Mr. White, will you call the roll?
Howard,
Aye.
Hoheimer,
Aye.
Allison Reed.
Aye.
Vera,
Aye.
Kiwi,
Aye.
Wrigley,
Aye.
Bill.
Aye, the motion carries. Next order of business, it looks like Mrs. Schaefer, you're going to run with the show for a bit. First up is inspection of service agreement with ECSI.
That is correct. It's that time of year again when we bring forth to you the contract with ECSI, which is a sister company to Rule, who spends a lot of time here working on our HVAC system. But ECSI specifically inspects and services our web control program that helps monitor and run the HVAC system. So the recommendation this year is for the contract to run July 1st, 2016 through June 30th, 2017 at $1,444 per month. That is slightly up from last year. It was $1,386 per month, so about a 4% increase. But still find it very valuable to the district to do a contract this way. So the recommendation would be board approval of ECSI's inspection and support agreement with the district July 1, 2016 through June 30th, 2017 in the annual amount of $17,328 as presented.
So move.
Motion by Mr. Howard, second by Mr. Huey. Board members have any questions about E ECSI?
Not specifically them, because I believe they've done an outstanding job. Do we believe that with the work we're doing down here, there's going to be less work for them though?
Well, ECS, I don't believe so, because we're just going to continue to put more on the system, and so it's going to continue to, they're going to continue to monitor and have more on the automated logic system. With Rule, which will be the next conversation we have, I believe, because we still are not doing anything with G Building until the following summer, that we're still going to have significant work from them on our chillers and things like that, so.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Mr. White, will you call the roll?
Howard,
Aye.
Huey,
Aye.
Allison Green,
Aye.
Vera,
Aye.
Hoheimer,
Aye.
Wrigley,
Aye.
Hill.
Aye. The motion carries. Next up, Mrs. Schaefer, inspection and service agreement with Rule.
So this contract also runs July 1st, 2016 through June 30th, 2017, and this is a negotiated rate that we have with Rule. When we go into contract with them, they actually give us a lesser rate than if we were just to call them on an hourly basis. If you look on page 212 of your materials, it shows what the rate would be. The normal hourly rate would be $129.50 per hour, and our negotiated reduced rate is $118.50 per hour. Just as we spoke just a minute ago, I do feel that we still are going to use their services. As a matter of fact, today, the chiller outside this building that cools the boardroom and the central office and culinary arts, the fan went out. So they were here just today, actually trying to get us back up and running, so we didn't sweat ourselves out in here. But anyway, so there's still enough issues that I think we're going to need them for the year. So last year's rate, monthly rate was $2,563. So this is up about 1.7% at $2,607 per month, with an annual amount of $31,284. So the recommendation tonight would be to ask for board approval of Rules Service and Inspection Agreement with the district from July 1, 2016 through June 30th, 2017, in the annual amount of $31,284 as presented.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Howard, second by Mrs. Hoheimer. Any board members have any questions? Mr. White, would you call the roll?
Howard,
Aye.
Hoheimer,
Aye.
Allison Green,
Aye.
Vera,
Aye.
Huey,
Aye.
Wrigley,
Aye.
Hill.
Aye. Motion carries. Next up, renewal of contract for food services. Mrs. Schaefer.
We are in our second renewal of a 4-year renewal process with the Aramark. The renewal is on your in your packet on page 214. There was a slight increase. They use the CPI, and so the increase this year is 2.6%. Currently, our budget with them is about $550,000. So the recommendation would be board approval to renew the food service contract with Aramark Educational Services for the 16-17 school year at an increase of 2.6% as presented.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Howard, second by Mrs. Hoheimer. Any members have any questions?
Are we at a point where we need to adjust prices?
We'll bring that, I'm going to take a look at that, and we'll bring that to the June board meeting. For lunch prices, you mean?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Any other questions? Mr. White, will you call the roll?
Howard,
Aye.
Hoheimer,
Aye.
Allison Green,
Aye.
Vera,
Aye.
Huey,
Aye.
Wrigley,
Aye.
Hill.
Aye. Motion carries. Contract for food service is approved. Mrs. Schaefer, on to renewal of third-party administrators for health insurance.
Our contract with United Healthcare renews June 1st, and so we met with Simonis, who helps us in that process of getting new figures, and have brought forth a new fixed rate this year. We'll tell you that when Danielle and I met with them the first time, we weren't necessarily happy with the rate that we were given, and honestly Simonis wasn't either, and so they went back and did try to do some negotiations and were able to lower that rate a little bit. One of the problems is what drives this fixed rate is our claims, and we are in a year where we had high claims, and so we're seeing the effects of that. So we will continue though to look at that, potentially have conversations again here with you about once we maybe convene our insurance review committee and have conversations with those folks as well, to maybe discuss what we need to start looking at in the future, just as we have with other things, to see what we can do to save costs wherever possible. So we are bringing this though to you at a fixed rate of $135.68 per employee per month. So the recommendation would be to renew the district's contract with United Healthcare as our third-party administrator for health insurance effective June 1, 2016, at a fixed cost of $135.68 per employee per month as presented.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Howard, second by Mr. Wrigley. Any board members have any questions? Mr. White, would you call the roll?
Howard,
Aye.
Ridley,
Aye.
Allison Green,
Aye.
Vera,
Aye.
Boheimer,
Aye.
Huey,
Aye.
Hill.
Aye. Motion carries. Next up, Mr. Schaefer, I think you're going to keep going. Renewal of contract with third-party administrator for ancillary benefits.
So we use a company called Guardian for our ancillary benefits, which they help administer our vision and dental and life insurance program, and so that contract is up as well. The fixed cost did go up slightly. It was $3.75 per employee per month last year. It's gone up to $4.15. We haven't had an increase from them though in a while, and this only is about a $1,400 annual cost increase. So we'll keep an eye on that as well, but have had good service with them, and so we're happy with that. The other thing too that I wanted to mention that we'll bring to you for a January renewal is the services that we use through Humana for our retirees. And we'll continue to look at that as well and at those rates, and probably come to you with additional conversations on ways where we can save money on that as well, potentially looking at what our current cost allocations are and have conversations around those types of things. So, but tonight the recommendation would be board approval to renew the district's contract with Guardian as our third-party administrator for ancillary benefits effective June 1, 2016, at a fixed cost of $4.15 per employee per month as presented.
So
moved.
Motion by Mr. Wrigley, second by Mr. Howard. Any members have any questions? Mr. White, would you call the roll?
Ridley,
Aye.
Howard,
Aye.
Allison Green,
Aye.
Vera,
Aye.
Boheimer,
Aye.
Huey,
Aye.
Hill.
Aye. Motion carries. One or two more for you, I guess. Renewal of lease agreement for the Waltz leasing for a postage machine.
So we are approaching the end of a 5-year lease that we've had with Walls. We lease a postage machine that we house up in buildings and grounds for all of our postage needs. So the recommendation tonight would be to renew that lease and its support for an additional 36 months. So, and actually the cost went down. We currently pay $139.42 and the renewal's at $134.75. So that was positive. So recommendation tonight would be board approval to renew the district's lease agreement with Walls Leasing for a postage machine for a period of 36 months, effective August 2nd, 2016, with a monthly payment of $134.75 as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Hoheimer, second by Mr. Wrigley. Any board members have any questions?
Is this the same machine? You're just,
It is the same machine, so we had a conversation around that. We've had no issues with the machine, and the particular model that we have is a pretty sturdy, durable model, and so that's why we didn't extend it any more than 3 years, just because we probably are getting, at the end of that 3 years, probably closer to the end of its useful life, but yes, it will be the same machine.
Any other questions? Mr. White, will you call the roll?
Boheimer,
Aye.
Ridley,
Aye.
Allison Green,
aye.
Vera,
Aye.
Howard,
Aye.
Huey,
Aye.
Hill.
Aye. Motion carries. You can keep the postage machine. Next up is the 2015-2016 amended budget.
Okay.
Mrs. Schaefer.
You have two.
Sorry.
I know. So you have two pieces of paper in front of you, and there's only a slight difference. So at the bottom, you'll see one that just says 2015-16 budget, and the other one says 2015-16 amended budget. So the 15-16 is the original budget that the board approved in September. So we're coming to you because we need to place the budget on display for an additional 30 days to amend it. And the main reason why is because we've had some changes with the health, life, safety expenditures, mainly just to the timing of it, because it was such a massive project when we did the budget, trying to figure out how much of the project would be done and how much we could get paid out by the end of the fiscal year. That changed slightly. And also because of our school-wide title status, that's another reason for in the education fund, we were able to expend some additional dollars, which Melissa had spoken to you about, I believe, at last month's board meeting, and so we needed to get those expenditures in there. In the meantime, though, obviously, things shake out, and so we know, too, we got our last replacement tax check in May, and that was about $300,000 less than we anticipated. So we had to take out, so if you look at the ed fund, it's honestly a little bit worse. So originally, we thought we were going to be at a deficit of 551, and in the amended budget, we're at a deficit of 611. So in that, we've basically reduced the revenues by the amount we know for sure replacement tax is going to be less, and we've also lessened our expenditures. However, it didn't lessen as much as our revenue lessened. So we were able to save some dollars. What we budgeted originally for special ed tuition specifically was a lot more than I think we're going to end up seeing, so we were able to back off about $200,000 there. And then some other places, obviously, when we did the budget in September, we didn't necessarily know what was going to happen with summer school, so we've adjusted that budget accordingly. So unfortunately, though, part of this, though, is timing. So with the title grant, the monies that we're spending, like on the textbooks and things like that we talked about, those dollars will get spent by the end of June, but we won't get reimbursed for those until July, once that expenditure report is submitted. So some of it's timing. And I'll continue to look at it too, throughout the last month. The big thing that can swing is health insurance too, once we see what our final claims come out to be. So I think right now, though, they're looking pretty close to being on track. So I don't expect a huge fluctuation, but maybe hopefully we'll end a little bit better than anticipated. So really, that's the major things. Overall, the budget, if you look at all funds, it's a little bit better, and that has to do with the Health Life Safety Fund. We had originally thought we would get about $2.7 million worth of expenditures paid out by the end of June, but we really are thinking it's probably going to be about $2.3 million. So that's about the $400,000 swing that you see there. So the recommendation would be to place the 15-16 amended budget on display for public inspection as presented with adoption at the June 2016 Board of Education meeting.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Alessandrini, and second by Mrs. Hoheimer. Any members have any questions?
Have we heard anything else from the state on CPRT, on repayment?
The only thing I've heard is that the only thing that I continue to hear is that they're potentially, obviously still looking at how that's going to affect state aid and looking at a 2-year maybe repayment thing. That's all I've heard though. Still no official notification from them. Nothing. So I think our notification was when our main check was less. So
Yeah.
There we go. Notification.
yeah.
Guess what?
Surprise.
Any other questions? Mr. White, will you call the roll?
Alessandrini.
Aye.
Hoheimer.
Aye.
Rivera.
Aye.
Howard.
Aye.
Huey.
Aye.
Wrigley.
Aye.
Hill.
Aye. Motion carries. On to our reports. We'll start with resignations. Mr. Wrigley.
Yes, we have 5 resignations for a matter of record tonight. Those resignations would be Isaac Arsenault, student worker for the summer, Shayla Hancock, assistant for the drama program. Help me with this name, Molly Moriarty.
Moriarty.
Yeah, Moriarty, okay. Teacher for social studies. Arian Taft, teacher for special education and English, as well as junior class advisor, and Robert Tweed, student worker for buildings and grounds department.
Thank you very much. Moving on to policy committee. We'll keep you going, Mr. Wrigley.
The policy committee did not meet this evening.
Operations and maintenance. Mr. Alessandrini.
We did meet this evening just to go over the beginning of the summer projects that have begun. The bleacher project is underway. Did not use that site for graduation yesterday. The Building A project began really right after spring break on second shift, and the central offices have moved over the weekend, and at the end of this week we'll really begin down here. And then on the 31st, the work will start in the Hawkins Gym and move forward. So everything is off and running. It will be construction zone city.
It's going to be a busy summer.
Yes.
LMRC, Dr. Owens?
We did not meet this month.
I think the same is true for Student Achievement Committee.
Yeah, you can tell it's the end of the year. Not.
And FOIA requests.
And they're tired too, because I didn't get any.
Excellent. Now what we've all been waiting for, the summary of 2015-2016.
Well, hopefully it won't disappoint. I did ask our administrative team to come tonight because I think that we are proud of the work that has been done this year. It's been done collectively. There certainly is no I in team. Very proud of this team and the work that's been done. And so we thought we'd take a little bit of time because I feel like sometimes we turn into the bearer of bad news on board meeting nights in terms of what issues we're dealing with, and we need to celebrate more of what actually is going on that's positive. And there is no doubt we had a lot of things go on this year that were challenges to all of us, especially with most of the team being new in their positions. But we feel like we had a lot of great things happen too. You know you're in trouble when the day of student registration, the night before, you get a phone call that the water main has broken and you need to make a decision whether you're going to have. That should have been the first sign to pack up and go away and come back another year. But we pushed through, and so we would like to share some things that we feel like are worth sharing, some of which you probably know about, and others that hopefully, if the slides go through, we'll figure out how to, there we go. Thought it was important to share some successes based on 4 different categories: student achievement, our professional learning community here at Pekin High, our community involvement in general with the community of Pekin, as well as our facilities here. The graphic, which you probably can't read, says when was the last time you did something for the first time, and I can emphatically say that most of us sitting here would say actually every single day. Student achievement, these are really hard to see. I can honestly send this, I probably should have sent it to you in advance of this. We did implement mandatory finals this year for all. Not sure everybody's all happy about that, but we did do it for a couple different reasons. We know that our student growth portion of our teacher evaluation is going to dictate 30% of our teachers' evaluation unless the state deems that we're going to throw that out in the next year or so. We'll see. But we felt like it was, we were at a point where we wanted all students to be taking assessments. The second bullet point could potentially be the bullet point of one thing we did for the entire year, and that was planned for a 7-period day. We've been planning for that, and for the last 2 years, that was probably the most exciting thing to plan for, probably scariest thing. We still have periods where we sit and think, have we thought of everything? Because maybe we forgot something. So we're hoping by the time August comes around that we've got this all under our belts, but a lot of time on everybody's behalf. It was a huge, I think, win for the students at Pekin High, and some tremendous opportunities that will fall out of that. And we'll continue to talk about that as we go through. One of the biggest things, and we had another meeting again today about the different interventions we're going to be able to offer students. We've worked very hard over the years to create interventions that we could get students into to help them be successful, but we were really dictated by the 20-minute student or the advisory period. Now we have whole periods of time that we're excited to be able to really get in and use and target students who really need help, and that's 2 different ones. Guided Learning Lab, which will be a resource for students who are struggling. It will be staffed by both a math and an English teacher every hour of the day. And then Credit Recovery / Writing Lab, Math Lab. So you'll see that's a combination of things that we actually already had, but we're going to, again, offer it every hour of the day with the ability for students to make up credits without necessarily sitting back in the classes they failed. Which is frustrating sometimes for our teachers. to have students who are there for the first time, along with students who are there for the second or third time. And so that's exciting. We added our Skills USA program. We've had a Skills USA program, but it was under the auspices of ICC, so we were actually able to take that on and do that ourselves. We're very proud of that. We have 4 students, I believe, who are going to the national program here in less than a month, I believe. And so we're excited about that. We have Callie. Callie's the newest member of our faculty. It's our therapy dog. Unfortunately, she's Amanda Fitz's dog, and we haven't convinced Amanda Fitz that although she's moving to California, she should leave her dog here. So we're in search of a therapy dog. I'd like to nominate mine, but she's probably not got the temperament for that, as Ryan can attest. I'm hearing her over the phone. So we're going to continue working on that and see if we can convince. We've got a few staff members we're working on for housing, and we'll get back to you. Advanced placement testing has been something that we have really, building level, really focused in on trying to get the number of students who take advanced placement tests up. They were successful. We actually gave 376 advanced placement tests as compared to 186 advanced placement tests that we gave last year. So that's huge. In addition, it comes at a time where the state now obviously has passed that if a student gets 3 or higher, they get college credit at a state university. So hopefully that's a benefit to our students. That's a huge number. We've struggled for years getting students to take those tests, even when they've sat through advanced placement courses the whole year. So that's a testament to the work that they did on that end. Standardized testing, our favorite topic of the year, is again full of changes last minute and therefore otherwise. We did PARCC. Again, we were expected to give the NGSS science assessment. We gave that within the last couple weeks. And that, obviously, anytime we give assessments, that is on the building level's backs to figure out how that works and how that's going to click along and how we're going to implement that. I think one of the things that we're proud of is that we were able to do that without sacrificing staff time, meaning kids lost curricular time, but we didn't have to use our teaching staff to man testing. The administration did it along with some of the department chairs in combination with our counseling staff. And so they have done that the past 2 years, and that way teachers stay in the classroom, which is where they should be. We did some changes. Sorry, I skipped one because I started laughing at the next one. Our freshman orientation, we've had some changes. The 4 people that sit out in front of you worked very hard in establishing deeper connections with our feeder schools. I think we say that every year, and I think we mean it. But I would say, based on response we're finally getting, I feel like we are making some headway with our largest feeder district, and that's 108. And so we have bridged some gaps. I think there's been some solid conversations. There's been visits. They've come here. We've gone there. They're starting to come to transition activities with their students at night. I believe Amy's going to 8th grade graduation with them, which is just what she wants to do, is spend another night at Pekin High this time of year. But I think it will pay us dividends in terms of the relationships that we're creating and working on. We've created the A team. I'm trying to remember what that is. Attendance, okay, because I go A, advisory. Along with Lisa Stoles, they wanted to focus on student attendance and creating different positive, as a positive, how can we get more students to understand that attendance is important. They've run the gamut to doing blasts. They've had Starbucks in. They've given different incentives. One of the things that we were concerned about moving into this year was mandatory finals going to impact our student attendance rate when students knew after three absences, and that need to take finals, if that was gone, would people just miss? And our attendance rates have stayed pretty steady. So nothing fluctuated to make any major difference, but we are going to continue to work through this because we do still feel like this is an issue where we need students to understand that being here is more than half the battle. One of the other things that we've made is changes to, we've had IPI walkthroughs for the last, I would say 3 to 4 years, where staff go through several classes in the building throughout a school day. One of the things that we added to that, it's called IPIT walkthroughs now, that they not only go into teachers' classrooms, but they're also looking to see what technology is being used and how it's being used. So that's been interesting data, and we're going to continue to share that data with the technology committee as we continue to figure out how we move forward with that. Curriculum pieces, these are some things that we've talked with you guys as the year has gone through. We did move APEX to a Common Core curriculum. We've come a long way in alternative school credit recovery in that I do remember as a dean here, students would clamor to their counselor to try to get into alternative school and to try to get to credit recovery because it was easy. And we've worked very hard to get away from that. Taking on APEX helped, but moving to APEX Common Core, I would say that has solidified the fact that students no longer think this is easy. And so I think word is spreading that you might as well pass your class the first time, yay, because this is not necessarily the easier way to go. We came before you at the end of last year, first semester, with 11 new courses. You've always been very supportive of us in terms of trying new things, adding to our curriculum, and trying to keep up with the times, so to speak. So we're excited about that. As well as departments and our teachers continue to work through core curriculum, standardized assessments, and grading practices. And that seems like a minor sentence. That's a lot of work. Those are tough conversations amongst teachers as to how we're grading, what we're grading, why we're grading it, what do those assessment what do they look like, what's a strong assessment, why. So they continue to work through those and do that work as well. Our professional community, this is what I like to say all the time that we spend in meetings and how it's worth it. So we did work on PARA, which we're expected to have. Remember our new, not only Danielson, but as well as our how does student growth play into evaluation that has to be implemented for the 16-17 school year. So we had a group of teachers actually volunteer to pilot student growth as to what it would look like in their evaluations. So along with that group, they then came back and gave feedback to the PARA Working Committee, and that has been, the PARA Working Committee has actually been a 2-year working committee as to what forms do we need, what process do we need. So that work will continue into next year as we continue to help staff understand what teacher evaluation looks like moving forward, why not to be intimidated by it, how we're all going to manage this together, because it's a lot of change. But I think that there's some good that will come out of that. We did start meeting as a whole technology committee with staff members, and we're excited. Just sent out last week an application if staff members wanted to be part of a potential pilot for next year, starting second semester with Chromebooks in their rooms, just to pilot what a one-to-one environment would be. And so we're excited to potentially be on the cusp of really looking at kind of like what we did through the SAC process. You know, do we need to go one-to-one? We're still trying to figure that out, but while we're figuring it out, let's start having some people, you know, practitioners do that every day and see what that looks like. So we'll keep you updated on that, but that's some exciting work. There's been some time spent trying to save the district some money since everybody keeps trying to take it away from us. So we've worked on cutting costs around things like paper, our energy therms, all these wonderful, like, exciting things, RFPs for banking, and as well as our auditing services. But all those things add up and help us maintain, you know, our level of spending. We've been the same thought process around cost savings when we talk about staffing our building and who we need to staff and why. And I think people expect us to do that and understand why we're doing that. Spent some time, Melissa did specifically. It's been something we've talked about for a long time. Boy, I wonder what it would be like to go school-wide. Do you think we should go school-wide? I think we qualify to go school-wide. That sounds like a lot of work. Well, Melissa just decided to bite it off and take it on, and there we go, we're school-wide. So that's how she operates. So we are now school-wide title. Obviously, that's already provided us some flexibility to do some things with some funding already. So I think that will continue to pay dividends moving into next year, so that's exciting. Big breath here, teacher evaluations. So everyone has to be evaluated, and under Danielson, teacher evaluation, I remember us sitting in meetings like 4 years ago talking about, boy, Danielson, some people would say Danielson's going to take a ton of time, and I'm thinking, no, it's just a new, it's going to be a fad, it's going to be a new way to evaluate, it's not really going to take any more time. It takes a lot of time. We had 109 teachers who were evaluated this year, 72 of which are non-tenured. We have 15 evaluators, which is a minimum of 181 formal observations, and our staff, our evaluation staff did nearly 1,000 informal evaluations. They're documented, they're saved. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of time. Our staff takes pride in the work that they do. In mentoring other staff. I think that we have tried very hard to offer opportunities to our teaching staff in terms of support and resources more than we ever have. And so we're excited about this, but it's commendable work. It takes a lot of time. Especially if you're someone who's in their first couple of years of doing teacher evaluation, just writing those up and getting everything you want in order, it's an inordinate amount of time just to do one. And most of the people sitting in front of you are doing probably 4 a week in terms of formals, mixed in with informals, mixed in with triaging multiple situations, which is why we needed the therapy doc. No, I'm just kidding. We also had some shifts that we've come to you with in terms of non-certified personnel changes that we were able to make, and with those changes comes work behind it, of course, some things that we changed up in B&G. We worked on using positions a little bit more wisely with our assistant attendance clerk, our sub-coordinator position, kind of reframing that a little bit better and having a little bit better system on that, as well as adding a CNA position. That was work that was done. We've all dealt with new protocols and practices, things that we're being asked to respond to. Senate Bill 100, I think, probably should have been at the top of that list. Concussion protocols, things that seem benign but are not. Obviously, transgender policies and things that came along with that are things that schools are still working their way through and responding to the public about. As well as Affordable Care Act mandates. Carla's part of the office deals a lot with that, and the paperwork that's involved in that and the frustration level that brings has been substantial. Faculty meetings, again, are different. I will say, I've never been to a faculty meeting like I was a week ago. I walked into the faculty meeting and people were speaking and they were laughing and they were clapping and they were chanting and they were dressed up, and I about fell over because we have had several conversations when we started as administrators here that faculty meetings were the scariest, most unfriendly, hostile place you could ever walk into, which was sad. And I think it's commendable to this group as well as our faculty, and represents definitely some shifts and some tides turned in terms of what I walked into. It was amazing. And we note it as such, but I literally, it's amazing. Almost leaves me speechless, but that doesn't happen very often. So we also have a lot of in-house staff development. We rely on our experts and creating staff development, different things that teachers can go to for support, or working through new things that are coming down or best practices, and that is a testament to Sheila and the work that she does in terms of creating a lot of those opportunities and working those through. One of the things that we very much as a team want to focus on, and really probably wanted to focus on this more this year, was community involvement, and you get sucked into though dealing with the here and now. But we talked about our relationships with the feeder schools. One of the things that our building level team has created this year is a committee, and they've called themselves the Pekin Community High School Outreach Initiative Team, to better figure out how to serve our students in need and how to bridge the gap between what we're doing here and what everybody in the community is trying to do, and how can we bring those resources together. It's been exciting to listen to the work that they've done. In fact, we are going to end the year by providing 100 students summer packs, to-go packs with food and hygiene essentials and things that they may need walking out of here for summer. Some of that's been donated, some of it's been bought, with some funds that we had. But we have a whole team that's putting, in fact, they spent this afternoon and tomorrow after school putting these packs together so they're ready to be given out. That's just one of the things they're doing, but continue to work through what that workshop that we have looks like, and what it's going to provide, and how to better serve our students' needs, and how to do that. It's pretty exciting. Sheila created a Pekin area business survey and worked through the Chamber of Commerce and gave this survey to our business leaders and different businesses in the area to get their input as to what's important to them, what are they looking for in employees, what are they not finding, those kind of things, to give us some feedback to give back to our staff as well as our students. We had great response. I think that also helps us bridge the gap with our community, that we care what we're sending to you, but we need your help in helping us understand what you're not getting so we can make modifications. So that was another way that we tried to bridge the gap. Our partnership was redeveloped with Papa Murphy's to acknowledge students' works. And we've also worked each week. We talk about what are our good news items coming up, so that we, Joel's in charge of contacting Sharon Harris, which is nice because we proactively bug the Times, like, come report on this, come report on this, come report on this. These are the great things that are happening here, instead of always waiting for the Times, which they did again today, contact me for a conversation they want to have that's probably not going to have a positive spin. We represent collectively a lot of different community organizations. Most of us sit on various things, including Rotary, Kiwanis, the Dirksen Board, Human Rights Committee, Children's Advocacy Board, Salvation Army Board, Economic Development Advisory Council, Pekin ICC Task Force, and the United Way. Obviously, there's probably some days where we would all say we don't have time for this, but we do think it's important to make time for this. There are times we miss meetings based on the crisis that may be presented here, but we think it's a priority to be there and to represent Pekin High, as well as to develop those relationships we want. Obviously came to you as for a swim and dive co-op. We've gotten some positive feedback from that, so we'll see how that plays out this fall. Our facilities, we'll see what they look like by August, but for this last year we did over $750,000 worth of work in facility upgrades, from the stadium to the softball field to the G building roof, walk-in freezer, cooler, and then all of the little things, that pop up that had to get fixed. And then obviously this is a huge year, a huge summer. Over $4.5 million of work for this fiscal year alone, in terms of the huge project down here, as well as our piping project, which is exciting because we get to replace all of our PE and athletic locker rooms, or most of them. So I would say by our building tour, which we schedule in August for the board, hopefully we'll be pretty excited about the visual effect of all of that work. So that's something else to be excited about. I think that's it. I just want to share with you my recognition of the people that sit with me. I have very much always been a proponent of teamwork. And I consider these people my team. And I'm very proud of the work that they've done. I'm not gonna lie, I think we were all very scared to walk in here in July and start the work as a team. We knew we were young, we're inexperienced, but we also know we're hardworking and we're gonna get the job done. And I cannot tell you enough, as much as some of the days have been absolutely miserable, I also know what didn't get down here because of the work that they did. And I know that because we've all done those jobs and we know. But I'm absolutely proud of the work that they've done. I think we need to spend a lot more time spouting about the good things that we do here on a daily basis, which is, again, working into the vision that we have moving forward. But I just want to thank them because I do think they make me look good. And I enjoy working with them. We've all had our ups and downs. We're moving into next year. We have a meeting tomorrow to talk about what we're working on this summer to get ready for next year. So I appreciate the time that they've taken. I asked them to be here, which is after I did it, like yesterday, I felt really bad. I asked them like 2 months ago, like, it's gonna be great. We're gonna have this end of the year wrap up, and I think you should be there. And then yesterday I was leaving graduation, I'm like, that's the most selfish, awful thing that I did. Because they have come off of 2 weeks, well, 9 months, but 2 weeks of literally being here almost every night. And then obviously here all weekend, and then I'm like, won't it be great? You can sit at a Monday night board meeting. Please come, you know, and they're here. And I think that just says a lot about what we do as a team and the expectations we have of each other. But I truly thank all of you for being here, and I think that very proud of the work that they've done.
They're all smiling. I think that's a good thing.
Thank you, Dr. Owen. It's amazing to see all the work that's been done in just 1 year's time. And building level staff, I know we probably don't see you all as much as we get to see everybody at the table over here, but Dr. Owens continues to tout your guys' hard work and everything you're doing for the district. So this isn't the first time we've heard her singing your guys' praise. So thank you very much for all that you do for the district. Moving on, next item will be future agenda items. Are there any agenda items that a board member would like to see on a future agenda? Okay, moving into announcements. Just a reminder, the annual district retirement luncheon is scheduled for Wednesday, May 25th, and it's going to begin at 1 p.m. in the cafeteria. If you have an RSVP, please make sure you RSVP for that. Next item is board assignments or committee assignments for board members for 2015 or the 2016-2017 school year is followed. LMRC will be me. Operation and Maintenance Committee will be Chairperson Joe Alessandrini, Larry Howard, and Steve Huey. Policy Committee will be Ryan Wrigley as the Chairperson, and Quinn Barra and Karen Hoheimer. SAC will be Larry Howard and Steve Huey, and RIF Committee will be Joe Alessandrini. Next, we're going to talk about our Triple I Conference, and Dr. Owens, I think you had a few comments to make about that. Is that correct?
I just wanted, I know we've talked about this in years past, I know we've taken to going up on Friday instead of Thursday, which has been, I think it's been amenable to most. Just fair warning, there's been times things have happened and we've had to back out of hotel rooms, and there really will be no backing out. There'll be we can never get people to take our rooms as much as we try, and we pedal them out, but we will be expected to pay basically the full nights, for that. I think the average was $260 a night for the nights that we don't end up staying. So just, the only reason I say that is just please double check calendars, and if you intend to go, we hope you can come, but make sure that what nights you want to go. Things happen, we understand that, but just be aware that obviously that's an expense. So, something to consider thinking about. But obviously, if you are interested in it, make sure Mr. White knows, and he does a wonderful job making sure that we're all taken care of and have a good time that weekend. So.
Thank you very much. And just a reminder, that conference is the 18th through the 20th of November, so please RSVP to Mr. White. And the last item is our next regularly scheduled board meeting is Monday, June 22nd at 6:30 p.m. I'm sorry, thank you, 27th. Monday, June 27th, 2016 at 6:30 p.m. And that's going to be in the activities room, which is F103, so it'll be up by the principal's office. So I know of no further business to come before the board, so I'll declare this meeting adjourned.